What's up, everybody? Welcome back to FFT. I'm Trevor, and today we're talking wide receivers. Let's check it out. All right, so we are starting this list off super strong with Garrett Wilson. All right, we're looking at him at the 19.3 ADP spot. So that means he's landing near the end of the second round. So we're talking like 208, 209, 210 in half PPR 12-team leagues. All right, so Garrett Wilson, one of my favorite rookies. He's not a rookie anymore. I got to remember that. This is his second year, all right? But it's one of my favorite second year, I guess, wide receivers going into the 2023 season. We've got Chris Olave, we've got Drake London, we've got George Pickens. Okay, but Garrett Wilson is the man. Out of all of those, he is the guy that you want to draft, you want on your team. If you have to pick out of kind of those early sets, Garrett Wilson is the guy, all right? He's not as flashy or as hot right now as like Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. But honestly, I love that because he's flying under the radar a little bit. Second-year wide receivers tend to be doing a lot better in their second year than in their first year. And with how well he did in the first year, he only has, the sky's the limit at this point for this guy. So I'm super excited for him. Let's talk a little bit about age. We're going to do some quick stats. We're going to talk about like fantasy value, and we're going to do a little bit of Justin Jefferson comparisons. And then we'll do an overall sort of view on this guy, whether or not you should consider him. Obviously, he's in my top three, so you definitely should consider him. One thing I'm going to say very quick before we jump into Garrett Wilson is I'm comparing him to Justin Jefferson. I'm actually going to compare all three of these guys to Justin Jefferson. I actually think, just to be fair, that Jamar Chase may be the best wide receiver in this class in 2023. I know everyone's sleeping on him. Justin Jefferson is the guy. I get it. But Jamar Chase, I think he may have more talent, and I think he may be on a better team and a better offense. I know Joe Burrow is hurt a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, we are going to be comparing him to Justin Jefferson just because he is the one that is being taken first overall at the wide receiver spot. So let's jump into some quick stats, all right? Age, he's 23 years old. Super young, obviously, second year in the NFL. He has years and years and years, pending an injury that like the value he will give to your team. All right. So going into the second year in the NFL, rookies are known to explode year two. All right. This is year two, and he will explode because he now has Aaron Rodgers at the helm. Look for it. It's going to happen. All right. Some quick stats. Here we go. Receptions. Last year alone, he had 83. So his first year in the NFL, he had 83 for 1,100 yards. Not bad. His average yards per reception was 13.3. Another great stat. He only had 4 touchdowns. So that's something where I want to see go up. I'm going to blame a little bit of this, actually a lot of bit of this, on Zach Wilson as his quarterback. You definitely saw his value fluctuate when that guy was in at starting quarterback. Again, because Aaron Rodgers is replacing that loser, we're just going to see this guy go up. All right. He only started in 12 games, although he played for all 17. I think that mostly had to do with him being a rookie. I don't think there was an injury, if I remember correctly. And again, his value rose drastically when Zach Wilson was not the starting quarterback. With Aaron Rodgers there, guys, come on. All right, fantasy relevance. This is the hottest year two wide receiver. So like I said, you've got Olave, Drake London, George Pickens, some other guys, or this is the guy you want. His ceiling is tremendous, all right? Weeks, he had, for fantasy points, he had weeks where he had 26, 24, 21, 15 points in a half PPR format. In a full PPR format, you're looking at, 30, 27. So it's pretty good. No reason this guy's not going to get any better, or no reason that he won't be even better this year. In full PPR, he was seeing over 9 targets per game in the second half of the season. Okay, so that's 9 points. If he catches all of those, that's 9 free points. He doesn't even have to get a single yard. That's just 9 points straight up, all right? And he has huge breakaway potential and also a ton of TD upside going into this year. Again, Aaron Rodgers, I think, drastically improves his touchdown potential. So I'm excited about that. Let's do a little bit of Justin Jefferson comparisons, all right? The breakout potential and talent are basically equivalent between the two. Justin Jefferson, I think, is at his peak. I think he may fluctuate from where he was last year, but I think he's going to sit right in that window. And I think Garrett Wilson this year is going to make a nice leap up and sit right in that pocket with Jamar Chase and with Garrett Wilson as well. But we'll see. Arguably, both are on super high-powered offenses. I think the Jets' hype could be real, though. I think the Jets could end up being even better than the Vikings offense, which isn't super hard to do. I think the Vikings are a little underrated, to be fair. I think they're going to have a great year again. But they're both on high-powered offenses, all right? While Wilson received over 9 targets last year, Justin Jefferson received at least 9 receptions per game last year. So that is something we want to see increase. Again, I think that is a Zach Wilson issue. I don't think that's a Garrett Wilson issue. The quality of the passes for JJ were much higher than Garrett Wilson's. Again, that's going to change. I really don't think that that's the case anymore with the team he has, with Breece Hall coming in, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. Who's their tight end? I can't think of their tight end. Who's the tight end? Let me know in the comments. I can't remember. Overall, okay, so when looking at Garrett Wilson, if you want a shot at the next hottest wide receiver in fantasy football, Wilson's the one to take, all right? Especially in dynasty and keeper leagues where you can hold on to him for years to come, snatch him up, all right? This is the guy you want to have on your team for years and years and years to come. If you aren't able to snatch up a Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, this is my next favorite player, okay? I know there's Tyreek. I know there's Cooper Kupp. I'm not huge on those guys. Tyreek's getting older. Cooper Kupp is super prone to injury this year. It's already not looking great. I'm not stoked about those other options. I'm not sure who else is in. You know, we got like AJ Brown and those sorts of guys, but I think Garrett Wilson is my wide receiver number 3 overall. And also the fact that he's at the 208, so at the end of the second round, you can either plan to grab like a running back or a quarterback early and still get your hands on Garrett Wilson, or you could even stack double wide receiver. You could end up theoretically with like a Justin Jefferson and a Garrett Wilson. Your wide receiver room is going to be stacked that way. Okay, so something to consider. I think overall Garrett Wilson is a catch, but he goes pretty early. So let's talk about somebody that goes a little bit later down the draft, and that is Calvin Ridley. All right, we're looking at ADP of 43.3, which means he's going about the middle of the 4th round, so about the 407 spot. He is 28, all right, so he is older. All these sort of things factor into his draft position, though, all right? So where he's going in his ADP, I think all these sort of things tie into that, but I think his upside is still there, all right? So this will be his 5th year actually playing in the NFL after leaving in 2021 from the Falcons, all right? So you heard that right, 2021. He hasn't been around football for years. He had some mental health stuff. He did some gambling on NFL games, both of which aren't great. He said that he was struggling with like some depression, anxiety, and stress and that sort of thing. And I understand mental health can be a huge, huge thing, but it's just something to consider. I love that he's honest and working on those things, but it is something to consider when taking this guy. Is he going to continue to have anxiety? Is he going to have to take time off in the middle of the season? Things like that are a little bit of a concern to me. But with the risk comes potentially some huge rewards. Okay, so some quick stats from his huge 2020 season, which is the last year that he played a full year, was in 2020. He had 90 receptions, 1,374 yards, 15.3 yards per reception on average, and 9 touchdowns. Okay, so the touchdowns are there, the receptions are there, the yards are there. This guy is going to give you value if he's anything close to where he left off, and I think he will be. And I think based on where if he's going middle of the 4th round, you can get some running backs, wide receivers, and then take a chance on this guy and have a potential, wide receiver, top 8 wide receiver overall this year. It's a little bit of a stretch in my mind to say that, but I think it's possible. I really, really do. I wouldn't be lying to you guys. That's truly how I value him. So his fantasy relevance, again, in 2020, which is the last year that we had a chance to actually take a look at this guy, he averaged about 10 targets per game, which is good. As a wide receiver, you like to see that, with about 7 receptions per game. So that's pretty good too. He had 10 games with over 14 fantasy points in a half PPR format. So again, with full PPR and averaging about 7 receptions per game, you're looking at more like 16 or 17 points in a full PPR format. 4 of those games were actually in the high 20s. So we're looking at like 26, 27 points per game in half PPR, half. So let's look at the Justin Jefferson comparison. Before leaving the NFL, he was the Justin Jefferson of the time. Okay, it's just what he was. Everyone loved him, loved Antonio Brown, but these were the guys at the very top. Everything is going to come down to what he looks like now after the long break, and that is the risk. But based on what we're seeing in training camp, based on what we're seeing in the preseason game, he didn't have a ton of touches, but he looked good. He looked flashy. He looked quick. He had good hands. So just playing the eye game, he made it. He made it in my mind, or the eye test. We are talking about, okay, we're 3 years removed now. He is older, okay, but he has that breakaway speed, and he is a deep threat still. So based on the stuff I was talking about, let's talk overall. Calvin Ridley, overall, when you're looking at him, again, at the 407 position, you can... so when he bet on the games, you need to take time away from mental health. I touched on all that. It does give us reason to be cautious, though, because of his past and the time he's taken off. So here are the things. He's older. He's been away from the NFL for a long period of time. He has mental health issues, and he says he doesn't have a gambling addiction. I mean, I don't know this guy personally. I don't know if we can trust that. So gives us reason to be cautious. But training camps show that he hasn't lost a step. He's on a team with other great wide receivers, something to consider. You got Christian Kirk, although Christian Kirk looked like he was playing more of a slot role, so maybe not as much of a threat in that way. But he is the riskiest pick out of the 3 guys that I'm mentioning on this list. So keep that in mind when you're valuing him yourself and determining whether or not you want him on your team in 2023. My third and final guy, DJ Moore. That's right. He's got his ADP is 53, which means he's going about the middle of the 5th round. He is 26 years old and going into the 6th year in the NFL. I threw this guy. I actually replaced him with my other 3rd round after watching the preseason game. I'm not going to lie. Emotionally, he just got my juices flowing. I love seeing him on the field. He made some great catches. Justin Fields and him just seemed to have a connection. After playing on the Panthers all these years and then moving to the Bears, I think that maybe he's turned a corner and there's going to be some magic that happens this year. This is just a gut feeling, guys. Like I said, he barely made it into my 3rd spot, but I really do think let's look at some stats. All right, so okay, 26 going into the 6th year of the NFL. In 2021, he had 93 receptions, 1,100 yards, so 1,157 yards, 12.4 yards per reception. And he averages about 5 touchdowns per year. So that's not great. But again, the receptions are there. So let's look. Fantasy relevance. Okay, so I think he becomes the guy with the Bears. I really do. I think that he doesn't really have much competition. There's Darnell Mooney, who hasn't really shown up. A lot of people continue to think that he's going to, show up at some point. He hasn't done it, so I still think he's not going to. Last year, he was solid, all right? So he was averaging 7 targets last year per game, only 4 receptions on average, though. And I think it was because, let's look at the quarterback situation at the Panthers. It's been fluctuating for years. It hasn't been great. I think he's had a little bit of an upgrade here in Justin Fields because and Justin Fields is trending up, and the Panthers are kind of trending down or holding about steady right now. So I think he's never really had a good option at quarterback, and now with Justin Fields, who is looking pretty good, I think that might change this year. He does have a chance to move truly into the wide receiver 1 spot for his team. Let's see. Justin Jefferson comparison. So as far as Justin Jefferson comparison goes, Calvin Ridley and Garrett Wilson are the most like Justin Jefferson. DJ Moore is not truly like Justin Jefferson. He doesn't have this blazing, flashy talent like JJ does. But let's keep in mind that he's middle of the 5th round. So you pay for what you get. He does, in my mind, though, even though you're getting him in the middle of the 5th round, I think he has like 3rd round potential. I think he could be as good as a 3rd round pick this year, and it's a guy that you're getting in the middle of the 5th. So if volume of passes goes up with the Bears, I could see like JJ level of targets. And that would be the sort of comparison I could see with Justin Jefferson, is the volume could be there. I don't think the quality of the pass is or the quality of the catch is going to be as good as if Justin Jefferson was the one receiving it. But the fact that he has the potential to get all that volume as a wide receiver 1 on his team could be excellent. All right. So overall, health hasn't been an issue for this guy, which is awesome to see as a wide receiver who's been in the league for as many years as he has. He started almost every single game since 2019. What else could you ask from this guy? I mean, Cooper Kupp hasn't done that. All these guys who are excellent, but if they're not playing games, they're not getting you points. Okay, so health is something to consider, and he's been doing great. Training camp looking excellent. Him and Fields look like they're locked in, and I'm targeting this guy. If I'm going like a 0 wide receiver strat at the beginning of my draft, this might be my wide receiver 1 for my team going into like the 5th or 6th round. So DJ Moore, I think he has a ton of potential. I think volume alone and his connection with Fields are the high upside when I'm considering this guy. Okay, let's talk about a quick honorable mention. All right, so this is truly 4th on my list. Not really a true 4, but just somebody to keep an eye on. And it's George Pickens, all right? It's the other guy who's going into his year 2 in the NFL. His ADP is 84, so he's going late. He's going way after DJ Moore and all these other guys. He's going end of the 7th round. But he looked great at camp. It's only his 2nd year in the NFL, and we know that 2nd-year wide receivers tend to really shoot up. So looking great in the preseason game. I honestly think he's undervalued this year based on his performance last year. And I think that connection with his quarterback, Pickett, is even going to be better this year. So something to consider. That's my honorable mention. I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you think that I'm overvaluing these players? Please leave a comment. Also, like and subscribe to this channel. I'm doing tight ends next. Tight ends aren't my favorite to do, but I'm doing them, all right? I'm going to give you my top 3. That'll be coming out in just a couple days. Keep an eye out for that. But until then, I'll catch you next time. See you guys.